The KeysDAN Show. It's the KeysDAN Show. I need a new theme for the KeysDAN Show. You might learn stuff. You might hear jokes. You never know what you're going to get on the KeysDAN Show. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. Hey, party people. It's the KeysDAN Show, and I'm your host, your man, your friend, your pal in the air chair, KeysDAN. And I'm coming to you live in a living color from the Radio What Studios. And if you need DJ services, why not call on me? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to the show. It's the KeysDAN Show. You found it. Now that you found it, you tell everybody. Don't you dare keep it a secret. If you like the sound of my voice and you want to learn things and maybe laugh a little bit too, why not tell everybody about the KeysDAN Show? It'll be on everywhere you find podcasts. Today on the program, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, music. And to refine it even further, rock music. And to refine it even further, my favorite band of all time, Queen. Yeah, you might have heard of them. Queen, of course, they're a British rock band formed in London, 1970. Their classic lineup was Freddie Mercury, lead vocals and piano, Brian May, lead guitar and vocals, Roger Taylor, drums and lead vocals, and John Deacon on bass guitar. Their earliest works were influenced by progressive rock, hard rock, and heavy metal, but the band gradually ventured into more conventional and radio-friendly works by incorporating further styles such as arena rock and pop rock. Before forming Queen, May and Taylor had played together in the band Smile. Mercury was a fan of Smile and encouraged them to experiment with more elaborate stage and recording techniques. He joined in 1970 and suggested the name Queen. Deacon was recruited before the band recorded their eponymous debut album in 1973. Queen first charted in the UK with their second album, Queen 2, in 1974. Sheer Heart Attack later that year and A Night at the Opera in 1975 brought them international success. The latter featured Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah, you may have heard of it, Bohemian Rhapsody, which stayed at number one in the UK for 9 weeks and helped popularize the music video format. The band's 1977 album, News of the World, contained We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions, which have become anthems of sporting events. By the early 1980s, Queen were one of the biggest stadium rock bands in the world. Another One Bites the Dust in 1980 became their best-selling single, while their 1981 compilation album, Greatest Hits, is the best-selling album in the UK and is certified 8 times platinum in the US. Their performance at the 1985 Live Aid concert has been ranked among the greatest in rock history by various publications. In 1986, Mercury gave his last performance with Queen at Nebworth, England. In 1991, he died of bronchopneumonia, a complication of AIDS, and Deacon retired in 1997. Since 2004, May and Taylor have been touring under the name Queen, a name with vocalist Paul Rodgers and Adam Lambert. Estimates of Queen's record sales range from 170 million to 300 million records, making them one of the world's best-selling music artists. Queen received the Outstanding Contribution to British Music Award from the British Phonographic Industry in 1990. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001. Each member has composed hit singles, and all 4 were inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2003. In 2005, Queen received the Ivor Novello Award for Outstanding Song Collection from the British Academy of Songwriters, Composers, and Authors. In 2018, they were presented the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Let's take it back a little bit. Yeah, my band, Queen. That's a little bit of an overview on the band. Let's go back to the history from 1968 to 1974, the early era. In 1968, guitarist Brian May, a student at London's Imperial College, and bassist Tim Staffel decided to form a band. May placed an advertisement on a college notice board for a Mitch Mitchell, Ginger Baker type drummer. Roger Taylor, a young dental student, auditioned and got the job. The group called themselves Smile. While attending Ealing Art College in West London, Staffel became friends with Faruka Freddie Bolzera, a fellow student from Zanzibar of Indian Parsi descent. Bolzera, who was working as a baggage handler at London's Heathrow Airport, felt that he and the band had the same tastes and soon became a keen fan of Smile. In 1970, after Staffel left to join the band Humpy Bong, the remaining Smile members, encouraged by now member Bolsera, changed their name to Queen and performed their first gig on the 18th of July in 1970. The band had a number of bass players during this period who did not fit with the band's chemistry. It was not until February of 1971 that they settled on John Deacon and began to rehearse for their first album. They recorded 4 of their own songs: Liar, Keep Yourself Alive, The Night Comes Down, and Jesus for a demo tape. No record companies were interested. It was also around this time that Freddie changed his name to Mercury, inspired by the line, Mother Mercury, look what they've done to me, in the song My Fairy King. On the 2nd of July, 1971, Queen played their first show in the classic lineup of Mercury, May, Taylor, and Deacon at a Surrey college outside of London. Having attended art college, Mercury also designed Queen's logo, called the Queen Crest. Shortly before the release of the band's first album, the logo combines the zodiac signs of all 4 members, 2 lions for Leo, Deacon and Taylor, a crab for Cancer, May, and 2 fairies for Virgo, Mercury. The lions embrace a stylized letter Q. The crab rests atop the letter with the flames rising directly above it, and the fairies are each sheltering below a lion. There's also a crown inside the Q, and the whole logo is overshadowed by an enormous phoenix. The whole symbol bears a passing resemblance to the royal coat of arms of the United Kingdom, particularly with the lion supporters. The original logo, as found on the reverse side of the cover of the band's first album, was a simple line drawing. Later, sleeves bore more intricate colored versions of the logo. In 1972, Queen entered discussions with Trident Studios after being spotted at Delane Lee Studios by John Anthony. After these discussions, Norman Sheffield offered the band a management deal under Neptune Productions, a subsidiary of Trident, to manage the band and enable them to use the facilities at Trident to record new material, whilst the management searched for a record label to sign Queen. This suited both parties, as Trident were expanding into management, and under the deal, Queen were able to make use of the high-tech recording facilities used by other musicians such as the Beatles and Elton John to produce new material. Roger Taylor later described these early off-peak studio hours as gold dust. In 1973, Queen signed a deal with Trident EMI. By July of that year, they released their eponymous debut album, an effort influenced by heavy metal and progressive rock. The album was received well by critics. Gordon Fletcher of Rolling Stone called it superb, and Chicago's Daily Herald called it an above-average debut. However, it drew little mainstream attention, and the lead single, Keep Yourself Alive, sold poorly. Retrospectively, it is cited as the highlight of the album, and in 2008, Rolling Stone ranked it 31st in the 100 greatest guitar songs of all time, describing it as an entire album's worth of riffs crammed into a single song. The album was certified gold in the US and the UK. The group's second LP, Queen 2, was released in 1974 and features rock photographers Mick Rock's iconic image of the band on the cover. This image would be used as the basis for the 1975 Bohemian Rhapsody music video production. The album reached number 5 on the British album chart and became the first Queen album to chart in the UK. The Freddie Mercury written lead single, 7 Seas of Rye, reached number 10 in the UK, giving the band their first hit. The album is the first real testament to the band's distinctive layered sound and features long, complex instrumental passages, fantasy-themed lyrics, and musical virtuosity. Aside from its only single, the album also included the song The March of the Black Queen, a 6-minute epic which lacks a chorus. The Daily Vault described the number as menacing. Critical reaction was mixed. The Winnipeg Free Press, while praising the band's debut album, described Queen 2 as an overproduced monstrosity. AllMusic has described the album as a favorite amongst the band's hardcore fans. And it is the first of 3 Queen albums to feature in the book 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. Let's go a little bit further into Queen's history. From 1974 to 1976, Sheer Heart Attack 2, A Night at the Opera. In May of 1974, a month into the band's first U.S. tour opening for Mott the Hoople, Brian May collapsed and was diagnosed with hepatitis, forcing the cancellation of their remaining dates. While recuperating, May was initially absent when the band started work on their third album, but he returned midway through the recording process. Released in 1974, Sheer Heart Attack reached number 2 in the UK, sold well through Europe, and went gold in the US. It gave the band their first real experience of international success and was a hit on both sides of the Atlantic. The album experimented with a variety of musical genres, including British music hall, heavy metal, ballads, ragtime, and Caribbean. At this point, Queen started to move away from the progressive tendencies of their first 2 releases into a more radio-friendly, song-oriented style, stretching the contemporary production methods. Sheer Heart Attack introduced new sound and new melody patterns. The single Killer Queen from Sheer Heart Attack reached number 2 on the British charts and became their first U.S. hit, reaching number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100. The song was partially recorded at Rockfeld Studios in Wales, with Mercury playing the grand piano. It combines camp, vaudeville, and British music hall with May's guitar virtuosity. The album's second single, Now I'm Here, a more traditional hard rock composition, was a number 11 hit in the UK, while the high-speed rocker Stone Cold Crazy, featuring May's up-tempo riffs, is a precursor to speed metal. In recent years, the album has received acclaim from music publications. In 2006, Classic Rock ranked it number 28 in the 100 greatest British albums ever. And in 2007, Mojo ranked it number 88 in the 100 records that changed the world. It is also the second of 3 Queen albums to feature in the book 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. In January of 1975, the band left for a world tour with each member in Zandra Rhodes created costumes and accompanied with banks of lights and effects. They toured the U.S. as headliners and played in Canada for the first time. After that, they played in 7 cities of Japan from mid-April to the start of May. In September, after an angry split with Trident, the band negotiated themselves out of their Trident Studios contract and searched for new management. One of the options they considered was an offer from Led Zeppelin's manager, Peter Grant. Grant wanted them to sign with Led Zeppelin's own production company, Swan Song Records. The bands found the contract unacceptable and instead contacted Elton John's manager, John Reed, who accepted the position. In late 1975, Queen recorded and released A Night at the Opera, taking its name from the popular Marx Brothers movie. At the time, it was the most expensive album ever produced. Like its predecessor, the album features diverse musical styles, experimentation with stereo sound. In the Prophet song, an 8-minute epic, the middle section is a canon with simple phrases layered to create a full choral sound. The Mercury-penned ballad Love of My Life featured a harp and overdubbed vocal harmonies. The album was very successful in Britain and went triple platinum in the United States. The British public voted it the 13th greatest album of all time in a 2004 Channel 4 poll. It has also ranked highly in international polls. In a worldwide Guinness poll, it was voted the 19th greatest of all time, while an ABC poll saw the Australian public vote it the 28th greatest of all time. A Night at the Opera has frequently appeared in greatest albums lists reflecting the opinions of critics. Among other accolades, it was ranked number 16 in Q Magazine's The 50 Best British Albums Ever in 2004, and number 11 in Rolling Stone's The 100 Greatest Albums of All Time, as featured in their Mexican edition in 2004. It was also placed at number 230 on a Rolling Stone magazine list of the 500 greatest albums of all time in 2003. A Night at the Opera is the third and final Queen album to be featured in the book 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. The album also featured the hit single Bohemian Rhapsody, which was number 1 in the UK for 9 weeks. Mercury's close friend and advisor, Capital London radio DJ Kenny Everett, played a pivotal role in giving the single exposure. It is the third best-selling single of all time in the UK, surpassed only by Band-Aid's Do They Know It's Christmas and Elton John's Candle in the Wind from 1997, and is the best-selling commercial single in the UK. It also reached number 9 in the United States. A 1992 re-release reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 5 weeks. It is the only single to ever sell 1 million copies on 2 separate occasions, and became the Christmas number 1 twice in the UK, the only single ever to do so. Bohemian Rhapsody has also been voted the greatest song of all time on 3 different polls. The band decided to make a video to help go with the single and hired Trillion, a subsidiary of the former management company Trident Studios. Using the new technology to create the video, the result is generally considered to have been the first true music video ever produced. and popularized the medium. Although other bands, including the Beatles, had made short promotional films or videos of songs before, most of those were made to be aired on specific television shows. According to Brian May, the video was produced so the band could avoid miming on the BBC's Top of the Pops, since it would have looked strange miming to such a complex song. In addition, the band knew they would be set to appear at Dundee's Card Hall on tour and would be unable to appear on Top of the Pops. On the impact of the Bohemian Rhapsody promotional video, Rolling Stone states, its influence cannot be overstated, practically inventing the music video 7 years before MTV went on the air, ranking it number 31 on their list of 50 key events in rock music history. The Guardian stated it ensured videos would henceforth be a mandatory tool in the marketing of music. The first track on A Night at the Opera, Death on Two Legs, ooh, I sang it there, is said to have been written by Mercury about Norman Sheffield and the former management at Trident who helped make the video so popular. Because the band was broke despite the success of previous albums. The second single from the album, You're My Best Friend, the second song composed by John Deacon, and his first single, peaked at number 16 in the United States and went on to become a worldwide top 10 hit. The band's A Night at the Opera tour began in November 1975 and covered Europe, the United States, Japan, and Australia. Yeah. Moving forward into the future of Queen's history, from 1976 to 1979, A Day at the Races to Live Killers. By 1976, Queen were back in the studio recording A Day at the Races, which is often regarded as a sequel album to A Night at the Opera. It again borrowed a name of a Marx Brothers movie, and its cover was similar to that of A Night at the Opera, a variation on the same Queen logo. The most recognizable of the Marx Brothers, Groucho Marx, invited Queen to visit him in his Los Angeles home in March of 1977. There, the band thanked him in person and performed 39 a cappella. Musically, A Day at the Races was, by both fans and critics' standards, a strong effort, reaching number 1 in the UK and Japan, and number 5 in the US. The major hit on the album was Somebody to Love, a gospel-inspired song in which Mercury, May, and Taylor multi-tracked their voices to create a 100-voice gospel choir. The song went to number 2 in the UK and number 13 in the US. The album also featured one of the band's heaviest songs, May's Tie Ya Mother Down, which became a staple of their live shows. During 1976, Queen played one of their most famous gigs, a free concert in Hyde Park, London. A concert organized by the entrepreneur Richard Branson. It set an attendance record with 150,000 people confirmed in the audience. On the 1st of December 1976, Queen were the intended guests on London's early Evening Today program, but they pulled out at the last minute, which saw their late replacement on the show, EMI label mate, the Sex Pistols, give their infamous expletive-strewn interview with Bill Grundy. During the A Day at the Races tour in 1977, Queen performed sold-out shows at Madison Square Garden, New York, in February, and Earl's Court, London, in June. The Earl's Court London concerts commemorated the silver Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II and saw the band use a lighting rig in the shape of a crown for the first time. The band's sixth studio album, News of the World, was released in 1977, which has gone 4 times platinum in the United States and twice in the UK. The album contained many songs tailor-made for live performance, including 2 of rock's most recognizable anthems, We Will Rock You and the rock ballad, We Are the Champions, both of which became enduring national sports anthems, and the latter reached number 4 in the U.S. Queen commenced the News of the World tour in 1977, and Robert Hilbum of the Los Angeles Times called this tour the band's most spectacularly staged and finely honed show. During the tour, they sold out another 2 shows at Madison Square Garden, New York. And in 1978, they received the Madison Square Garden Gold Ticket Award for passing more than 100,000 unit ticket sales at the venue. In 1978, the band released Jazz, which reached number 2 in the U.S. and number 6 on the Billboard 200 in the U.S. The album included the hit singles Fat Bottom Girls and Bicycle Race on a double-sided record. Reviews of the album in recent years have been more favorable. Another notable track from Jazz, Don't Stop Me Now, provides another example of the band's exuberant vocal harmonies. In 1978, Queen toured the U.S. and Canada, spent much of 1979 touring in Europe and Japan. They released their first live album, Live Killers, in 1979. It went platinum twice in the U.S. Queen also released a very successful single, Crazy Little Thing Called Love, a rockabilly-inspired song done in the style of Elvis Presley. The song made the top 10 in many countries, topped the Australian ARIA charts for 7 consecutive weeks, and was the band's first number 1 single in the United States, where it topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 4 weeks. Having written the song on guitar and played rhythm on the record, Mercury played rhythm guitar while performing the song live, which was the first time he ever played guitar in concert. In December of 1979, Queen played the opening night at the Concert for the People of Kampuchea in London, having accepted a request by the event's organizer, Paul McCartney. Let's go further into the future of Queen's past. 1980 to 1984, The Game, 2, The Works. Queen began their 1980s career with The Game. It featured the singles Crazy Little Thing Called Love and Another One Bites the Dust, both of which reached number 1 in the U.S. After attending a Queen concert in Los Angeles, Michael Jackson suggested to Mercury backstage that Another One Bites the Dust be released as a single, and in October 1980, it spent 3 weeks at number 1. The album topped the Billboard 200 for 5 weeks and sold over 4 million copies in the U.S. It was also the first appearance of a synthesizer on a Queen album. Heretofore, their albums featured a distinctive no synthesizers sleeve note. The note is widely assumed to reflect their anti-synth pro-hard rock stance by the band, but was later revealed by producer Roy Thomas Baker to be an attempt to clarify that those albums' multi-layered solos were created with guitars, not synths, as record company executives kept assuming at the time. In September of 1980, Queen performed 3 sold-out shows at Madison Square Garden. In 1980, Queen also released the soundtrack they had recorded for Flash Gordon. At the 1981 American Music Awards in January, Another One Bites the Dust won the award for Favorite Pop Single, and Queen were nominated for Favorite Pop Rock Band, Duo, or Group. In February 1981, Queen traveled to South America as part of the Game Tour and became the first major rock band to play in Latin American stadiums. The tour included 5 shows in Argentina, one of which drew the largest single concert crowd in Argentine history, with an audience of 300,000 in Buenos Aires, and 2 concerts at the Morumbi Stadium in Sao Paulo, Brazil, where they played to an audience of more than 131,000 people in the first night. Then the largest paying audience for a single band anywhere in the world. And more than 120,000 people the following night. In October of the same year, Queen performed for more than 150,000 fans on the 9th of October at Monterrey Estadio Universitario, and 17 and 18 at Puebla Estadio Zaragoza, Mexico. On the 24th and the 25th of November, Queen played 2 sellout nights at the Montreal Forum, Quebec, Canada. One of Mercury's most notable performances of the game's final track, Save Me, took place in Montreal, and the concert is recorded in the live album, Queen Rock Montreal. Queen worked with David Bowie on the single Under Pressure. The first time collaboration with another artist was spontaneous, as Bowie happened to drop by the studio while Queen were recording. Upon its release, the song was extremely successful, reaching number 1 in the UK and featuring at number 31 on VH1's 100 Greatest Songs of the 1980s. In October of that year, Queen released their first compilation album titled Greatest Hits, which showcased the group's highlights from 1974 to 1981. It is the best-selling album in UK chart history, and as of June of 2019, has spent 867 weeks in the UK album chart. The album is certified 8 times platinum in the US and has sold over 25 million copies worldwide. Taylor became the first member of the band to release his own solo album in 1981, titled Fun in Space. In 1982, the band released the album Hot Space, a departure from their trademark 70s sound, this time being a mixture of rock, pop rock, dance, funk, and R&B. Most of the album was recorded in Munich during the most turbulent period in the band's history, and Taylor and May lamented the new sound, with both being very critical of the influence of Mercury's personal manager, Paul Prenter, had on the singer. May was also scathing of Prenter, who was Mercury's manager from the early 1980s to 1984, for being dismissive of the importance of radio stations such as the U.S. networks and their vital connection between the artist and the community, and for denying them access to Mercury. Q Magazine would list Hot Space as one of the top 15 albums where great rock acts lost the plot. On the 14th and 15th of September 1982, the band performed their last 2 gigs in the U.S. with Mercury on lead vocals, playing at the Forum in Inglewood, California. The band stopped touring North America after their Hot Space tour, as their success there had waned, although they would perform on American television for the only time during the 8th season premiere of Saturday Night Live on the 25th of September of the same year. It became the final public performance of the band in North America before the death of their frontman. Queen left Elektra Records, their label in the US, Canada, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand, and signed onto EMI Capitol Records. After working steadily for over 10 years, Queen decided that they would not perform any live shows in 1983. During this time, they recorded a new album at the Record Plant Studios, Los Angeles, and Musicland Studios in Munich. And several members of the band explored side projects and solo work. Taylor released his second solo album, Strange Frontier. May released the mini-album, Starfleet Project, collaborating with Eddie Van Halen. In February of 1984, Queen released their 11th studio album, The Works, which included the successful singles Radio Gaga, Hammer to Fall, and I Want to Break Free. Despite these hit singles, the album failed to do well in the US, where the cross-dressing video for I Want to Break Free, a parody of the British soap opera Coronation Street, proved controversial and was banned by MTV, while in the UK, it went triple platinum and remained in the album's chart for 2 years. The concept of the video came from Roger Taylor, who stated to Q Magazine, "We had done some really serious, epic videos in the past, and we just thought we'd have some fun. We wanted people to know that we didn't take ourselves too seriously, that we could still laugh at ourselves. I think we proved that." That year, Queen began the Works Tour, the first tour to feature keyboardist Spike Edney as an extra live musician. The tour featured 9 sold-out dates in October: Bophuthatswana, South Africa, at the Arena in Sun City. Upon returning to England, they were the subject of outrage, having played in South Africa during the height of apartheid, and in violation of worldwide divestment efforts and a United Nations cultural boycott. The band responded to the critics by stating that they were playing music for fans in South Africa, and they also stressed that the concerts were played before integrated audiences. Queen donated to a school for the deaf and blind as a philanthropic gesture, but were fined by the British Musicians Union and placed on the United Nations blacklisted artists. Moving forward into the history of Queen, the band, from 1985 to 1988, Live Aid and tours. In January of 1985, Queen headlined 2 nights of the first Rock in Rio festival at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and played in front of over 300,000 people each night. The Boston Globe described it as a mesmerizing performance. Highlights from both nights were released on VHS as Queen Live in Rio and was broadcast on MTV in the U.S. In April and May of 1985, Queen completed the Works Tour with sold-out shows in Australia and Japan. At Live Aid, held at Wembley on the 13th of July, 1985, in front of the biggest ever TV audience of 1.9 billion, Queen performed some of their greatest hits. The sold-out stadium audience of 72,000 people clapped, sang, and swayed in unison. The show's organizers, Bob Geldof and Midge Ure, other musicians such as Elton John, Cliff Richard, and Dave Grohl, and journalists writing for the BBC, CNN, Rolling Stone, MTV, The Telegraph, amongst others, described Queen as the highlight. An industry poll in 2005 ranked it the greatest rock performance of all time. Mercury's powerful, sustained note during the a cappella section came to be known as the note heard round the world. The band were revitalized by the response to Live Aid, quote, shot in the arm, Roger Taylor called it, and the ensuing increase in record sales. Queen ended 1985 by releasing the single One Vision and a limited edition boxed set of Queen albums, The Complete Works. The package included the 1984 Christmas single, Thank God It's Christmas, and previously unreleased material. In early 1986, Queen recorded the album A Kind of Magic, containing several reworkings of songs written for the fantasy action film Highlander. The album was successful in the UK and many other countries, producing a string of hits, including A Kind of Magic, One Vision, Friends Will Be Friends, Princes of the Universe, and Who Wants to Live Forever. In the US, the album only peaked at number 46 and was described by biographer Mark Blake as a so-so album and, quote, a somewhat uneven listening experience, end quote. In mid-1986, Queen went on to the Magic Tour, their final tour with Freddie Mercury. They once again hired Spike Edney. The Magic Tour's highlight was at Wembley Stadium in London and resulted in the live double album, Queen at Wembley, released on CD and as a live concert VHS DVD, which has gone 5 times platinum in the US and 4 times platinum in the UK. Queen could not book Wembley for the third night, but played at Nebworth Park. The show sold out within 2 hours, and over 120,000 fans packed the park for what was Queen's final performance with Freddie Mercury. Queen began the tour at the Rosunda Stadium in Stockholm, Sweden, and during the tour, the band performed a concert at Cian Castle, Ireland, in front of an audience of 95,000, which broke the venue's attendance record. The band also played behind the Iron Curtain when they performed to a crowd of 80,000 at the Népstadion in Budapest, in what was one of the biggest rock concerts ever held in Eastern Europe. More than 1 million people saw Queen on the tour, 400,000 in the UK alone, a record at the time. After working on various solo projects in 1988, including Mercury's collaboration with Montserrat Caballé, Barcelona, the band released The Miracle in 1989. The album continued the direction of A Kind of Magic, using a pop rock sound mixed with a few heavy numbers. It spawned the European hits I Want It All, Break Through, The Invisible Man, Scandal, and The Miracle. The Miracle also began a change in direction of Queen's songwriting philosophy. Beforehand, nearly all songs had been written by and credited to a single member. With The Miracle, their songwriting became more collaborative, and they vowed to credit the final product only to Queen as a group. Going further into the history of Queen, the band. From 1988 to 1992, Freddie Mercury's final years. After fans noticed Mercury's increasingly gaunt appearance in 1988, the media reported that Mercury was seriously ill with AIDS, frequently mentioned as a likely illness. Mercury denied this, insisting he was merely exhausted and too busy to provide interviews. He was now 42 years old and had been involved in music for nearly 2 decades. Mercury had, in fact, been diagnosed as HIV positive in 1987, but did not make his illness public, with only his inner circle of colleagues and friends aware of his condition. The band continued recording albums, starting with The Miracle in 1989 and continued with Innuendo 1991. In 1990, Queen ended their contract with Capitol and signed with Hollywood Records. Through the deal, Disney acquired the North American distribution rights to Queen's catalog for $10 million and remains the group's music catalog owner and distributor in the United States and Canada. In February that year, Mercury made his final public appearance when he joined the rest of Queen to collect the Brit Award for Outstanding Contribution to British Music. Through 1990, media reports persisted that Mercury was seriously ill, but he continued to deny them. Innuendo was released in early 1991 with an eponymous #1 UK hit and other charting singles released later in the year, which included The Show Must Go On. This song, released as a forerunner to Greatest Hits 2, featured archive footage of Queen's performances between 1981 and 1989, and along with the manner of its lyrics, fueled reports that Mercury was dying. Freddie Mercury was increasingly ill and could barely walk when the band recorded The Show Must Go On in 1990. Because of this, May had concerns about whether he was physically capable of singing it, but May recalled that he, quote, completely killed it. The rest of the band were ready to record when Mercury felt able to come into the studio for an hour or two at the time. May says of Mercury, quote, he just kept saying, write me more, write me stuff. I want to sing this and do it. And when I am gone, you can finish it off. He had no fear, really, end quote. The band's second Greatest Hits compilation, Greatest Hits 2, followed in October 1991. It is the 10th best-selling album in the UK and has sold 16 million copies worldwide. On the 23rd of November, 1991, in a prepared statement made on his deathbed, Freddie Mercury confirmed that he had AIDS. Within 24 hours of the statement, he died of bronchial pneumonia, which was brought on as a complication of AIDS. His funeral service on the 27th of November in Kensal Green, West London, was private and held in accordance with the Zoroastrian religious faith of his family. Bohemian Rhapsody was re-released as a single shortly after Freddie Mercury's death, with These Are the Days of Our Lives as the double-A side. The music video for These Are the Days of Our Lives contains Mercury's final scenes in front of the camera. This track had featured at the beginning of the year on the Innuendo album, and the video for it was recorded in May of 1991, which proved to be Mercury's final work with Queen. The single went to #1 in the UK and remaining there for 5 weeks, the only recording to top the Christmas chart twice and the only one to be #1 in 4 different years, 1975, 1976, 1991, and 1992. Initial proceeds from the single, approximately £1 million, were donated to the Terrence Higgins Trust, an AIDS charity. Queen's popularity was stimulated in North America when Bohemian Rhapsody was featured on the 1992 comedy film Wayne's World. Its inclusion helped the song reach #2 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 5 weeks in 1992. Including its 1976 chart run, it remained in the Hot 100 for a combined 41 weeks and won the band an MTV Award at the 1992 MTV Music Awards. The compilation album, Classic Queen, also reached #4 on the Billboard 200, and it's certified 3 times platinum in the U.S. Wayne's World's footage was used to make a new music video for Bohemian Rhapsody, with which the band and management were delighted. On the 20th of April, 1992, the Freddie Mercury tribute tour was held at London's Wembley Stadium to a 72,000-strong crowd. Performers including Def Leppard, Robert Plant, Tony Iommi, Roger Daltrey, Guns N' Roses, Elton John, David Bowie, George Michael, Annie Lennox, Seal, Extreme, and Metallica performed various Queen songs along with the 3 remaining Queen members and Spike Edney. The concert is listed in the Guinness Book of Records as the largest rock star benefit concert, as it was televised to over 1.2 billion viewers worldwide and raised over £20 million for AIDS. Continuing with the history of Queen, the band. From 1995 to 2003, Made in Heaven to 46664 concert. Queen's last album with Mercury, titled Made in Heaven, was released in 1995, 4 years after his death, featuring tracks such as Too Much Love Will Kill You and Heaven for Everyone. It was constructed from Mercury's final recordings in 1991, material left over from their previous studio albums, and reworked material from May, Taylor, and Mercury's solo albums. The album also featured the song Mother Love, the last vocal recording Mercury made, which he completed using a drum machine, over which May, Taylor, and Deacon later added the instrumental track. After completing the penultimate verse, Mercury had told the band he wasn't feeling that great and stated, quote, "I will finish it when I come back next time," end quote. Mercury never returned to the studio afterwards, leaving May to record the final verse of the song. Both stages of recording before and after Mercury's death were completed at the band studio in Montreux, Switzerland. The album reached #1 in the UK following its release, their 9th #1 album, and sold 20 million copies worldwide. On the 25th of November, 1996, a statue of Freddie Mercury was unveiled in Montreux, overlooking Lake Geneva, almost 5 years to the day since his death. In 1997, Queen returned to the studio to record No One But You, Only the Good Die Young, a song dedicated to Mercury and all those who will die too soon. It was released as a bonus track on the Queen Rocks compilation album later that year. In January of 1997, Queen performed The Show Must Go On live with Elton John and the Bedjart Ballet in Paris on a night Mercury was remembered, and it marked the last performance and public appearance of John Deacon, who chose to retire. The Paris concert was only the second time Queen had played live since Mercury's death, prompting Elton John to urge them to perform again. Brian May and Roger Taylor performed together at several award ceremonies and charity concerts, sharing vocals with various guest singers. During this time, they were billed as Queen Plus, followed by the guest singer's name. In 1998, the duo appeared at Luciano Pavarotti's benefit concert, with May performing Too Much Love Will Kill You, with Pavarotti later playing Radio Gaga, We Will Rock You, and We Are the Champions with Zucchero. They again attended and performed at Pavarotti's benefit concert in Modena, Italy, in May of 2003. Several of the guest singers recorded new versions of Queen's hits under the Queen Plus name, such as Robbie Williams providing vocals for We Are the Champions for the soundtrack A Knight's Tale. In 1999, a Greatest Hits 3 album was released. This featured, amongst others, Queen Plus Wyclef Jean on a rap version of Another One Bites the Dust, a live version of Somebody to Love by George Michael, and a live version of The Show Must Go On with Elton John were also featured in the album. By this point, Queen's vast amount of record sales had made them the second best-selling artist in the UK of all time, behind the Beatles. On the 18th of October, 2002, Queen were awarded the 2,207th star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for their work in the music industry, which is located at 6358 Hollywood Boulevard. On the 29th of November, 2003, May and Taylor performed at the 46664 concert hosted by Nelson Mandela at Greenpoint Stadium, Cape Town, to raise awareness of the spread of HIV/AIDS in South Africa. A new song, Invincible Hope, featuring Mandela's speech and credited to Queen plus Nelson Mandela, was performed during the concert and later released on the 46664 1 year on EP. During that period, May and Taylor spent time at Mandela's home discussing how Africa's problems might be approached. And 2 years later, the band were made ambassadors for the 46664 cause. Continuing from 2004 to 2009, Queen plus Paul Rogers. At the end of 2004, May and Taylor announced that they would reunite and return to touring in 2005 with Paul Rogers, founder and former lead singer of Free and Bad Company. Brian May's website also stated that Rogers would be featured with Queen as Queen plus Paul Rogers, not replacing Mercury. Deacon, who was retired, did not participate. In November 2004, Queen were among the inaugural inductees into the UK Music Hall of Fame, and the award ceremony was the first event at which Rogers joined May and Taylor as the vocalist. Between 2005 and 2006, Queen plus Paul Rogers embarked on a world tour, which was the first time Queen toured since their last tour with Freddie Mercury in 1986. Taylor said, quote, "We never thought we would tour again. Paul came along by chance, and we seemed to have a chemistry. Paul is such a great singer. He's not trying to be Freddie." End quote. The first leg was in Europe, the second in Japan, and the third in the U.S. in 2006. Queen received the inaugural VH1 Rock Honors at the Mandalay Bay Event Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. On the 25th of May, 2006, Foo Fighters paid homage, performing Tie Your Mother Down to open the ceremony before being joined on stage by May, Taylor, and Rogers, who played a selection of Queen hits. On the 15th of August, 2006, May confirmed through his website and a fan club that Queen plus Paul Rogers would begin producing their first studio album, beginning in October, to be recorded at a secret location. Queen plus Paul Rogers performed at the Nelson Mandela 90th birthday tribute held in Hyde Park, London, on the 27th of June, 2008, to commemorate Nelson Mandela's 90th birthday and again promote awareness of the HIV/AIDS pandemic. The first Queen plus Paul Rogers album, titled The Cosmos Rocks, was released in Europe on the 12th of September 2008 and in the United States on the 28th of October 2008. Following the release of this album, the band again went on a tour through Europe, opening at Kharkiv's Freedom Square in front of 350,000 Ukrainian fans. The Kharkiv concert was later released on DVD. The tour then moved to Russia, and the band performed 2 sold-out shows at the Moscow Arena, having completed the first leg of its extensive European tour, which saw the band play 15 sold-out dates across 9 countries. The UK leg of the tour sold out within 90 minutes of going on sale and included 3 London dates, the first of which was the O2 Arena On the 13th of October, the last leg of the tour took place in South America and included a sold-out concert at the Estadio José Amalfitani, Buenos Aires. Queen plus Paul Rogers officially split up without animosity on the 12th of May, 2009. Rogers stated, quote, "My arrangement with Queen was similar to my arrangement with Jimmy Page in the firm, in that it was never meant to be a permanent arrangement," end quote. Rogers did not rule out the possibility of working with Queen again. Moving on to 2009 to 2011, departure from EMI and the 40th anniversary. On the 20th of May, 2009, May and Taylor performed We Are the Champions live on the season finale of American Idol, with winner Chris Allen and runner-up Adam Lambert providing a vocal duet. In mid-2009, after the split of Queen plus Paul Rogers, the Queen online website announced a new greatest hits compilation named Absolute Greatest. The album was released on the 16th of November and peaked at number 3 in the official UK chart. The album contains 20 of Queen's biggest hits spanning their entire career and was released in 4 different formats: single disc, double disc with commentary, double disc with feature book, and a vinyl record. Before its release, Queen ran an online competition to guess the track listing as a promotion for the album. On the 30th of October 2009, May wrote a fan club letter on his website stating that Queen had no intentions to tour in 2010, but that there was a possibility of a performance. On the 15th of November 2009, May and Taylor performed Bohemian Rhapsody live on the British TV show The X Factor alongside the finalists. On the 7th of May 2010, May and Taylor announced that they were quitting their record label, EMI, after almost 40 years. On the 20th of August 2010, Queen's manager, Jim Breach, put out a newsletter stating that the band had signed a new contract with Universal Music. During an interview for Hard Talk on the BBC on the 22nd of September, May confirmed that the band's new deal was with Island Records, a subsidiary of Universal Music Group. Hollywood Records remained as the group's label in the United States and Canada. However, as such, for the first time since the late 1980s, Queen's catalog now has the same distributor worldwide, as Universal distributes for both the Island and Hollywood labels. For a time in the late 1980s, Queen was on EMI-owned Capitol Records in the U.S. On the 14th of March 2011, which marked the band's 40th anniversary, Queen's first 5 albums were re-released in the UK and some other territories as remastered deluxe editions. The US versions were released on the 17th of May. The second 5 albums of Queen's back catalog were released on the 27th of June, with the exception of the US and Canada, which was on the 27th of September. The final 5 were released in the UK on the 5th of September. In May of 2011, Jane's Addiction vocalist Perry Farrell noted that Queen are currently scouting their once former, current live bassist Chris Chaney to join the band. Farrell stated, quote, "I have to keep Chris away from Queen, who want him, and they're not going to get him unless we're not doing anything. Then they can have him," end quote. In the same month, Paul Rogers stated he may tour with Queen again in the near future. At the 2011 Broadcast Music Incorporated BMI Awards held in London on the 4th of October, Queen received the BMI Icon Award in recognition for their airplay success in the U.S. At the 2011 MTV Europe Music Awards on the 6th of November, Queen received the Global Icon Award, which Katy Perry presented to Brian May. Queen closed the award ceremony with Adam Lambert on vocals, performing The Show Must Go On, We Will Rock You, and We Are the Champion. The collaboration garnered a positive response from both fans and critics, resulting in speculation about future projects together. From 2011 to the present, Queen plus Adam Lambert. Queen forever. On the 25th and 26th of April, May and Taylor appeared on the 11th series of American Idol at the Nokia Theater in Los Angeles, performing a Queen medley with the 6 finalists on the first show, and the following day performed Somebody to Love with the Queen Extravaganza Band. Queen were scheduled to headline Sonosphere at Nebworth on the 7th of July, 2012, with Adam Lambert before the festival was canceled. Queen's final concert with Freddie Mercury was in Nebworth in 1986. Brian May commented, quote, "It's a worthy challenge for us, and I'm sure Adam would meet with Freddie's approval," end quote. Queen expressed disappointment at the cancellation and released a statement to the effect that they were looking to find another venue. Queen plus Adam Lambert played 2 shows at the Hammersmith Apollo in London on the 11th and 12th of July, 2012. Both shows were sold out within 24 hours of tickets going on open sale. A third London date was scheduled for the 14th of July. On the 30th of June, Queen plus Adam Lambert performed in Kiev, Ukraine, at a joint concert with Elton John for the Elena Pinchuk Anti-AIDS Foundation. Queen also performed with Lambert on the 3rd of July, 2012, at Moscow's Olympic Stadium, and on the 7th of July, 2012, at the Municipal Stadium in Wrocław, Poland. On the 12th of August, 2012, Queen performed at the closing ceremony of the 2012 Summer Olympics in London. The performance at London's Olympic Stadium opened with a special remastered video clip of Mercury on stage performing his call and response routine during their 1986 concert at Wembley Stadium. Following this, May performed part of the Brighton Rock solo before being joined by Taylor and solo artist Jessie J for a performance of We Will Rock You. On the 20th of September, 2013, Queen plus Adam Lambert performed at the iHeartRadio Music Festival at the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Queen plus Adam Lambert toured North America in the summer of 2014 and Australia and New Zealand in August-September of 2014. In an interview with the Rolling Stone, May and Taylor said although the tour with Lambert is a limited thing, they are open to him becoming an official member and cutting new material with him. In November of 2014, Queen released a new album, Queen Forever. The album is largely a compilation of previously released material, but features 3 new Queen tracks, featuring vocals from Mercury with backing added by the surviving members of Queen. One new track, There Must Be More to Life Than This, a duet between Mercury and Michael Jackson. Queen plus Adam Lambert performed in the shadow of Big Ben in Central Hall, Westminster, Central London, at the Big Ben New Year concert on New Year's Eve 2014 and New Year's Day 2015. In 2016, the group embarked across Europe and Asia on the Queen plus Adam Lambert 2016 Summer Festival Tour. This included closing the Isle of Wight Festival in England on the 12th of June, where they performed Who Wants to Live Forever as a tribute to the victims of the mass shooting at a gay nightclub in Orlando, Florida, earlier that day. On the 12th of September, they performed at the Park Hayarkin in Tel Aviv, Israel, for the first time in front of 58,000 people. As a part of the Queen plus Adam Lambert Tour 2017-2018, the band toured North America in summer of 2017, toured Europe in late 2017, before playing dates in Australia and New Zealand in February and March of 2018. On the 24th of February 2019, Queen plus Adam Lambert opened the 91st Academy Awards ceremony held at the Dolby Theater in Hollywood, Los Angeles, which brings us to July of 2019. They will embark on the North American leg of the Rhapsody Tour. With dates sold out in April, they will tour Japan and South Korea in January of 2020, followed by Australia and New Zealand in the following month. Well, I appreciate you sticking with me as we go through the history and present of Queen, the band, my favorite. I mean, I can go through their music style and influences and their legacy and the countless times that they were featured in movies and pop culture. Just I'm watching shows, and every time Queen songs pop up, I get giddy. So, we could probably do another show in the future on all that, but I had a good time just reminiscing and thinking about my favorite band, Queen. I hope you had a good time as well. There's going to be more episodes of the KeysDAN show coming up in the future. It's just a show that lets me learn, and I'll take you on the journey with me. So if you like the sound of my voice, maybe we'll learn some stuff together. Thank you so much for listening to this installment of the KeysDAN show. It is KeysDAN with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here. Radio What? The music you want, with some words to live by.
Your job won't take care of you when you're sick. Your family will.
A public service message from RadioWhat.com. The music you want. Be on Radio What. Call 501-470-6386. Say your name, where you're from, and you're listening to What? The music you want is on RadioWhat.com.